Ian Rappaport reported Desmond Ridder will start for the Falcons in Week 12 and for the foreseeable future. So, assuming the rest of the season, Alex, is the correct decision by Arthur Smith and the Falcons?
Yeah, it very clearly is. Taylor Heinicke was putting the ball in harm's way just as much. Though he was producing more big plays, it certainly wasn't enough to cement him as the starter for the rest of the season. In fact, I think you could make the argument that Desmond Ridder should have never been benched in the first place because you kind of had to see what you had in him. I always thought you were kind of waving the white flag when you benched him. And now Arthur Smith is kind of playing this off as, he just needed to reset. No, you benched him because, the other guy came in and had a better half than Desmond Ridder did in the first half. So you really had no choice. Now, Taylor Heinicke started a pair of games and he's looked, marginally better at best, and you could even argue that he's been worse in most instances. So now it's probably Desmond Ridder's team for the rest of the season, and it will be his final opportunity to prove he's a franchise quarterback in this league, which I do not expect him to do.
I'll even go as far to say I don't think it's an argument. I mean, I guess people will argue it, but there was no reason Desmond Ridder should have been benched in the first place. We talked about his improvements. I was shocked when Taylor Heinicke came out. They blamed it on the concussion protocol, but he cleared concussion protocol. And then they still started Heinicke the next week because Heinicke looked really good in that half. And then they started him again after he wasn't anything to really write home about against Minnesota. So it was definitely a benching. I was shocked by it. I thought Desmond Ridder showed improvements. Obviously, the turnovers were an issue, but I think it's just more incompetence from the coaching staff in general. Yep. Like should we expect anything else for them to make a poor decision when it comes to the quarterback position? I mean, they've made poor decision. They made a poor decision going after Deshaun Watson with Matt Ryan. They made a poor decision not going to Desmond Ridder and sticking with Marcus Mariota for 13 weeks last year. And now they're making more poor decisions at the quarterback position, basically benching Ridder when he was even looking better. Basically each week, I thought he looked better every week leading up to that. And I know he had mistakes, and we're going to talk about the fumbles and the turnovers. But the reality of the situation is that he should have never been benched. And you lose 3 games without him. And we're 4-6. Now you go back to him in a rivalry game that's the biggest game of the season when he hasn't really had as much playing time, and you're expecting him to go out there and win this game with your hopes of the playoffs hinging on it. It's crazy that the Falcons have a game to go to take the lead in the division, and it's like I'm checked out, man. Like it's just because I'm checked out because of everything, like the decisions, the play calling, the way the team looks, the quarterback situation. It's like I'm just exhausted talking about it.
We have 7 games to go, and it feels like this season's already over. And that's crazy to say because the Falcons take care of business on Sunday against the Saints, and they're in first place. They're in the driver's seat of the division and potentially hosting a playoff game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the very first time. That's absolutely wild to say. And you know what's even funnier about the situation is, listen, I hate the Saints as much as the next guy. We're LSU guys, but we're from Atlanta, so we still hate the Saints. But the Saints defense is absolutely nasty. They're a top 5 unit in football, and Desmond Ridder is probably going to struggle because most quarterbacks struggle against that defense. That's just that they're a very good defense. So now we're going to come off a Sunday thinking Desmond Ridder's worse than maybe he actually is because he just played a top 5 defense. So, I'm prepared for the worst on Sunday. I will be in attendance. I will be there. I'll be wearing the cowboy hat. So if you see me, come say hi. I'll have a few adult beverages. But I'm not expecting much. The Falcons are 1-point underdogs at home. So that means they'd be 4 or 5 point underdogs if it was in New Orleans. And if you lose this game, you're 3 games under 500. You really have no direction at quarterback. We spent over $250 million in the offseason to upgrade the roster and pay the guys that were in-house, and we're still going to finish 7-10. I don't know that's a disappointment in every sense of the word.
Yeah, but if you win, we're back. If you win, you're having a totally different conversation. But the odds that you win with a rusty quarterback that hasn't started in 3 weeks against a really good defense, they better gotten some things tightened up during the bye week. That's all I got to say. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk the Heisman race. Our guy Jaden Daniels, but Bo Nix also balled out, and Michael Penix.